Good morning, welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Joy. And today we are doing some Masters of the Universe. Let's check the chat really quick. Good morning, Andrew. Lovely to see you today. And Rhea, thank you for showing up to hang out with us. Yeah. All right, and then really quick, we're just doing more work on the Masters of the Universe 1984 coloring book. I'm going to start with this page today, He-Man versus Dragon. If we finish it before the 2 hours, I'll start on this one with Skeletor and a sexy sachet and Beastman as they use a map to navigate Castle Grayskull. Not sure though why it's an outside map that inside, but either way, sexy Skeletor showing a little cake. So anyway, but we'll start with this one, Dragon. And yeah, so how is everyone's weekend going? Hello, titular heroine. It's about the only way I can make it roll is if I do a semi-fake British accent, but I'm working on it. Good morning, Nolan. Thank you for arriving and saying hello and making this an official YouTube event. I'm going to start with the ruler and just sort of block out some borders. I have a little bit of a cold. It's been quite the week. So I do apologize for the extra. There'll be a few extra sniffles and a little bit of Kim Carnes gravelly voice thing happening. So I do apologize for that, but unavoidable sometimes. So just get my border laid out. Yeah, so I had about half of a thought to just sleep in today, but I also didn't normally would stream on Friday, but didn't because of busy stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna do it today because I do quite enjoy this. I enjoy hanging out. So there we have a basic border, and I think we're gonna put a planet or two in the sky just to break all of that up. There we go. So yeah, 2 planets. I think it's pretty good. And I'm going to make one of them blue. Start sketching that out. And so how is everyone's weekend going? Oh, nice. Can't wait to see the video. I quite enjoyed your Queen Marlena video yesterday. It was pleasant company while dealing with the realities of life. So also, anytime I get to cite that crappy back history of Queen Marlena and Dr. Evelyn Powers and T.S. Cope and Biff Beastman being sent out by the U.S. By NASA to search for the missing Matt Mason. I kind of like it. Other that origin of Evelyn and the others is kind of janky. I would personally not mind if they, sort of did add the Matt Mason thing, especially in Origins. It would be kind of fun if Mattel brought in a couple of their older sort of Matt Mason and, oh gosh, what was the one right before? Can't believe I'm spacing on it. It's where like the Battle Cat mold came from. And somebody in chat will remember. Yeah, that would be a good garage band name, but not particularly good. What did you think, Nolan? I went last weekend and quite enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was sort of the right blend of like a little bit of nostalgia, but they didn't lean into it. It actually felt like a story that progressed from rather than just a bunch of, hey, remember this happened last time? I mean, it did mean that there was no Gina Davis. And Gina Davis is all things to all people. Um, but I was okay with that. I kind of liked that the little bit of the mention of them made, it was a nice little moment, I feel like. So I'm not gonna spoil it for people who haven't gone yet. Not that that's a huge spoiler, but and still, if you haven't seen it, I feel like it would be a nice thing to learn about in the movie. So let's see. All right, so I'm gonna do the blue planet. I think I'm gonna do that in yellow. Do the other little planet yellow. And for that, we'll start with just a deco yellow. If I can make everything work. There we go. Got a bunch of nubbies I'm going to try to work with today so that I can cycle these out. Because I've got... this one is the organized one. And let's see. The hot mess one is handy. Oh, here we go. And then there's this one. This is what doing a short every day for a year results in. So I'm going to try to work through some of these so that we can retire them to, and I'll post a picture on Instagram with the Sarah McLachlan Arms of the Angel, or I Will Remember You dropped over the top of it, just so we can properly celebrate their sacrifice to art on YouTube. Because, without them, this would not exist. I'm just going to make this sort of like a sand-looking planet. We'll say it's Tatooine in the background. And since early Masters of the Universe broadly borrowed from, Zodak is very Star Wars looking. He's like Lobot fused with Boba Fett, so. There we are. That's what I should do. I've got a couple pictures of Lobot. I should do a Lobot month next year, because we all know how much everyone loves Lobot. He's actually one of my favorite characters, so I loved him quite a bit as a child. He and Bespin Leia and the droids had many, many sassy adventures. But I was also the kid. I liked all the old men figures. Death Squad Commander, Imperial Trooper, the Imperial Officer, General Maydain. Like, it was just basically old men that, like, Princess Leia could boss around. Take what bits of my psychology that speaks to as a child, but they all answered to her, or she was like taking them down. So, if they had given us a Governor Tarkin figure back in the 70s or 80s, it would have been on. It would have been like a regular roast of Tarkin happening at my house. All right, there we go. We've got like a sand planet in the background. Oh my gosh, right? So here's the thing with that. So my friend and I went, and like the theater we go to makes you pick your seats, and which is handy, but at the same time, it's just like, it was not a full theater, the showing we went to, so it's kind of dumb. But, so he just grabbed the tickets, and then I'm like, I'll get concessions. And for popcorn and drinks, and when I say drinks, he just got a bottled water. And I got him, he got candy. I did not get candy. I'm like, I'm going to eat a lot of this popcorn. I don't need the candy. It was almost 30. It would have been more. It would have been cheaper for me just to buy my own ticket and then let him buy his own stuff. But, I mean, that's not his fault. It was just ridiculous because I know I've got an air popper. I know I sound very old as I say this, but it does not cost that much to make that much popcorn. I mean, like, and I don't, the movie theaters have like the hookup to the big popcorn or whatever, so they can just get that stuff by the vat. If I can get a big old can of some Orville Redenbacher seeds for my air popper for like $5, you know that they get like for $100 enough popcorn seeds to like blanket the like Manhattan Island. So, but whatever. I had fun. Like, I ate too much popcorn, of course. But that's the beauty of popcorn. You eat too much of it. And it was just lunch that day. I'm not going to eat lunch. I'm just going to eat popcorn. Which, was very me in my 20s. I would, on my day off from Blockbuster, I would go to the movie. And I would see like 5 movies in a day. I would go by myself during the day when everyone else had to work or was in school. And then as people started getting off work, I would meet them for different movies. There was one day I saw Clueless. Let's see, I went to the 10 a.m. show, and Clueless was only an hour and a half. So I saw it at like 10 a.m., 12 a.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m., 8 p.m., and then the 10 o'clock show. And for most of those, I met a different friend. So it was quite the day. Lots of Clueless. As you can tell, I really liked that movie. So, but I think, again, at that point in the 90s, quite a few of us did. I think I'm not going to do it today, but I used to be able to do the whole, both of her speeches from speech class I used to be able to do. So, probably. Yeah, that's really ridiculous. Like, this is why people sneak candy into the theater. Also, hello, Alex, aka Black Phoenix. Lovely to see you. Yeah, Gina Davis has done much for the world. Like, I used to, for a while, one of my top sayings at one point was, what in the Gina Davis do you think you're doing? And just because she's so epic that I'm like, we should just elevate Gina Davis to the level of, invoking her when appropriate. Like, it didn't catch on, sadly. I mean, I will say the time I tried to make clown shoes happen, that at least showed up in Jay and Silent Bob Strike, or was it? It was one of those, either Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back or like Clerks 2, maybe, I don't know, one of those Kevin Smith movies. And then I was like, okay, I make clown shoes happen. We're good. My boss didn't like it because I was always like, stop being such a pair of clown shoes. And she was like, I am not clown shoes. I'm like, you're acting like it. And then she would go to her desk and like put on lots of lip gloss. So, I mean, by the end of it, she looked more like a clown and not clown shoes. But not everyone is gifted in makeup. It was also a different era. I'm just going to do a regular bluish sky for this. I've got 2 planets. We can do a little normal earthy blue sky look. I normally do like purples and yellows and pinks and stuff for Eternia, but today we're going to do a blue sky. It's gone kind of rough. Hopefully that'll help almost simulate some clouds. So, I mean, not exactly, but kind of. Not even worrying about, you know, matching the direction. I'm going to probably go in also with a white paint pen and make some clouds. So, I don't know yet. I haven't thought that far of it. I focused all of the, what I wanted to do on this dragon thing, which is really a very odd dragon. So, the artist who did this also made some really odd looking snakes. I did gosh, it's been a couple months now, but one of the Friday live streams I did with this book was a snake page. I do appreciate there was a girl snake. The artist on this was way more inclusive at the time than Mattel as a toy company was, because like this book has Evelyn, Tila the sorceress, and a lady snake. So I could tell by her eyelashes. So, all right, there we go. Got some blue sky up there. Oh, good morning, Carol. Lovely to see you. And Thanos, welcome. Oh, what happened? All right, let's see. All right, there we go. Every so often, StreamYard is odd. Okay, we're back. All right, I'm going to do the ground, but before I do the ground, I am going to just go in with chartreuse yellow chartreuse, and I'm going to put a little bit down on the dragon. I'm going to be really basic with this dragon. He's going to be green. And this is a sort of outline base color, and I'm going to go in and shade it, but I want sort of the basic green down, just so that I'll probably do the ground around him, but that way I've got sort of the color in my mind, so that whatever I do, I will remember to not add any green to the ground. Probably going to do orange for the ground. So He-Man's only orange is his bracers and his belt, which will not really blend into the ground. So, and that way I can have this sort of consistent-ish color scheme, and it will also prevent sort of green ground, and it's sort of alien, so it'll help counteract that we've got just a plain looking blue sky up there. This is the stuff that, you know, when I'm doing a page that goes through my head. So if you've ever wondered what the hell is she thinking when she does these pages, this is what I'm thinking. Of course, in a short, I would do the dragon last after the ground and stuff. So, but we're live, so I'm gonna do the dragon. Start it anyway, sort of midway through. And again, this is just sort of rough to get the color down. Not trying to do full coverage. There will be a lot of green happening. You know, I grabbed the Skeletor Sassy Cake map thing in case I finish this, but I don't know if I will once I get to detailing on the dragon. All right, so that's all I'm going to need of the yellow chartreuse, so it can go live right there. And I'm going to start doing the ground, and then, like I said, I'm going to do that with an orange. Well, base orange. I'm going to go in with different colors. So, this is the not so exciting part, so that's kind of why I'm breaking it up. Give you some exciting dragon. We'll go put some orange down on the ground. We'll work on the dragon a little bit more. Go back to the ground. Also, so I don't get bored. That is the one thing you don't see when I do a pre-record and speed it up. I can edit the part where I'm like, oh my god, this ground is driving me crazy. And then I walk away for like an hour. Or go watch YouTube video. Well, move the chair over and watch YouTube videos and leave comments. And depending on what account I'm in, sometimes the comments are a little bit sassier. So, I logged in one day, and because of the way our work systems are set up, I was signed into my boss's account. So I had to go delete comments because I was like, oh my god, why is it? And then I was like, oh yeah. So that was fun. I'm like, she definitely does not want to get notifications of me correcting somebody on their misunderstanding of some old toy line. I mean, maybe she would. Like, she might have found that exciting, but I can't imagine. They're all pretty supportive of me doing this over on the side, but I don't think most of them get it. And that's fine. You know, and I'm also building out sort of what we do to include some social media stuff, so that's always cool. Hello, Oz. And yeah, StreamYard has been having some glitchy stuff happening the last 2 or 3 weeks since they offered all these upgrades and hiked the prices. So I'm wondering. Rings of, oh gosh, I haven't even started that. I will say though, I sort of sat down the other day and made my list of shows that I started but never finished. I'm almost done with Oranges. I started with Orange is the New Black and then cut that. That show got really tedious at the end, but I finished it. So I'm wrapping up Frankie and Grace, then I'm going to finish Glow, then Good Girls, then Dead to Me. Then I'm going to risk the rest of the Connors. I did not finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine or How to Get Away with Murder. So if you're wondering what Allison is watching that's not on YouTube, I'm finishing all these old shows. And when you just said Rings of Power has that effect on me, I remembered finishing up Orange is the New Black. And really toward the end there, it was just like, I need to finish this. So I gotta say, if you watch that show, like the first 2 seasons were really good, but the Piper character, by the end of it, I couldn't. Like, she came on and I just instantly rolled my eyes and was like, she's just the worst. So if that's what they were going for, they succeeded. But also, it just, I don't know. I'm not going to spoil it with details in case there's like one person here who hasn't finished it or hasn't started and wants to, but it just felt like they ended it really depressing. And I get, oh, it's realistic, but when I have spent 6 to 7, well, at this point, almost a day, that show started like, I think in 2013. Jeez Louise. Okay, so like 10 years to finish it. I need a little bit more positivity at the end there. I don't care if it's unrealistic. I don't really watch TV for realism. Like, I need a touch of realism, but I don't know. I'm also the person who hates when a horror movie ends, though, with like everybody dying. Like, I need at least one person to survive and be reasonably, like, okay at the end. Like, I don't like horror movies where somebody, like, loses a finger and then they survive, because it's like, I need my characters to not be maimed at the end of it. Like, I like the illusion that one day they'll be okay, and it's like when you maim a character like that, it's like they're going to have a lot of, you know, like, I don't need the realism in horror where it's like, I've got PTSD, and then you get the sequel and they've got PTSD, and like, I need Linda Hamilton PTSD, where it's like you're big and buff and you can, like, sort of use your arm to crank a shotgun, whatever you call that. I should know that. But that's the PTSD I want to see. I don't want anything that reminds me of my 20s as your PTSD in a movie. Like, and some things just don't. I'll watch a TV movie of the week about a real story. If I want to be depressed, I'll watch something that has Moby music in it. Or anything where Gwyneth Paltrow is portrayed as a good person. That just depresses me, so. Hello, Wraithmace. Welcome. Lovely to see you. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, exactly. And that was, I think, really, you know, because I didn't finish like the last 2 seasons until the last few weeks. And every time it would cut to Piper, I'm just like, I don't care. Anything with her and Alex, like her and Laura Pepperoni or whatever her last name is. Like, every time it went to those characters, I was just bored. Like, I guess those are characters people cared about. I don't know anyone who enjoyed them. Like, for me, it was all about the other characters. Like, I really wish Lori Petty had gotten, like, an actual story in that show. Like, she's really cool. I don't know. I mean, I get, like, the real person that inspired it is Piper Kerman. And it's based on her book and her experiences. But once they started moving completely into fiction, like, just cut the character. Like, we don't need her. There was so much more interesting stuff. Even Captain Janeway, like, who still cannot have anything where her hair looks okay, apparently. Like, her storyline was really good, I thought. I wish we had got more of that and less Piper, so. Less Piper, less Laura Pepperoni. But, I don't know. This is probably, I mean, I also took years to finish it, and people who love those characters probably finished those the first weekend in a binge. So, everyone likes every character is somebody's favorite character. I think that's the same. So, put a little bit of brown in the background along the horizon, just to darken it up a bit, and then bring it down. I'm not going to go super, I'm going to try to super detail this ground. I'm just going to put a little color, so especially if I darken it, it'll hopefully help make the grain that I put in for the dragon stand out. And again, I'm just going to keep saying it. This is a really weird looking dragon. But this seems to be the artist's style with dragons, so I don't know if he actually knew how to draw dragons, because every dragon or flying lizard in this book is really sort of odd. Let's see, where did that? Here it is. Just so that you can see how, because you're also, some of these pages I'll be doing in a future episode. So this is like the actual page that this is scanned from. Let's see. Yet another page of Skeletor and Beastman, like, creeping on Tila and Charger. You'd think we would have gotten a Charger back in the 80s, as much as they wanted kids to play creeping on her. Let's see if I can find, there's an evil Wind Dragon in here. So yeah, this is Stratos and like a flying dragon. And again, it's just sort of really weird, like almost bird-like, which kind of makes sense in this context. Just see, there's a video up of this page for anyone who wants. It's long form, so you don't have to really. Oh, see, there we go. There are the snakes. And there's the girl snake. Now, where is the Dragon Evelyn? Is great because it looks. And of course, it's not just popping up. I bet it's probably before this. So I'm not finding it. No. Okay, I don't know where it is. Sorry, guys. All that, and I can't find it. And it's literally in that book somewhere, but it's basically like the same looking dragon, and then she's sitting on it with like her fist triumphantly in the air, like, I'm riding a dragon. It looks a little bit like the expression the artist gave her in it reminds me of like when my brother potty trained the first time he successfully pooped in the little toilet that you have to potty train in. Like, it reminds me of his expression, which now makes me more sad that I can't. Oh, I know where. Not quite the same. Here we go. It's a sneak peek. But yeah, here we go. See, like, it's just like, I pooped. And the dragon is kind of like, she just pooped. But also, I think it's a girl dragon, and we can tell because look at the eyelashes. So, very demure, very mindful, very cutesy. So, that will be a future live stream from this book. The Everybody Poops Evil and Dragon picture is what I think I'm going to call it. So. Hello. Yeah, lots of old. I try to stick to old school coloring books here. So, and welcome. Lovely to see you today. Yeah, I love Deep Space Nine, but don't like Janeway's hair. Like, her hair is just never good. Like, and the more they try to do something with it, the worse it gets. There's that one time where she has the hair from that prince. It's like the same cut the prince and Shrek has. What's his name? Farquaad, I think. I only watched those movies once. It's a little too old for them, I think. Or I thought I was. I went through a whole phase where I didn't watch anything. And that was partly because I went and had a friend who was like, you have to watch these Harry Potter movies. They're really good. And then I would go and fall asleep about 20 minutes into it. She'd get really mad because I'd start snoring in the theater. It's an awkward angle to sleep at. And then she was like, it's because you snuck vodka in with your drink. And I'm like, I made it 20 minutes because I had some vodka to drink during this movie. So that's like dragging me to like 11 o'clock shows or, like, because she worked until 7 or 8. But, I mean, it's like Friday night. It's 11 o'clock. If you don't give me some, in my 20s anyway, if you didn't give me some vodka, like, don't invite me. Yeah, and it did. It helped me get through Harry Potter because I know people love those. And if you enjoy Harry Potter, good for you. Like, everyone deserves to enjoy stuff. Just not my back. It was just in general, I did not enjoy the wizarding world of Harry Potter. So, it has ever felt inspired to me. And I know there are a lot of people who love it. It's their whole thing. It's their jam. They grew up with it. That's exciting. My grandparents don't like Star Wars. They thought it was weird with space monkeys and, it just wasn't their jam. And that's okay, because you don't have to like everything. And you know what? The nice thing about my grandparents not liking Star Wars, they just didn't watch it. If I was watching it on VHS or whatever and they didn't care, they'd just leave. They go do something they like doing. So. That's for anyone who hate watches things to post videos on the internet. All you need to do is not watch it. Go find something you like. You don't like new Star Wars? Don't watch new Star Wars. Go watch old Star Wars or go find something you do like. It's so much healthier for you. You spend too much time hating on stuff you don't like, you start looking like that little, what's his name, Smeagol in Lord of the Rings? The little precious troll thing. Which I do enjoy Lord of the Rings movies, I just don't know all the names. Oh, Matt just whispered from across the room that it's Gollum. So Gollum. So Kayla would just die if she heard me do that. So hi, Kayla, wherever you are. Good morning, Todd. Happy Sunday to you. How is your toy hunting going? See, there are some of us, we just couldn't get into it, and that's okay. Like, again, if you love them, I hope, like, I'm glad you found something you liked. I'm not even sarcastic when I say I love that for you. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, and again, I think I've noticed it's mostly among sort of, I mean, like, I don't want to generalize, but I notice a lot of Gen X, you know, like it's about 50-50. Half of Gen X, we connected to it, half of us, we didn't. And then for millennials, it's, you know, more like 30-70 in my experience, where about 70% of millennials really connected and 30 didn't. I don't know about after that because I don't personally have kids, so I don't have to spend a lot of time around kids. For those of you who love kids and have them, I love that for you, but in too much time around kids, and I'm not. I'm gonna be the aunt. Like, I'll take your kid and they can come hang out for an hour or two, and then you need to come and get your child. It doesn't matter how pleasant or charming they are. After about 2 hours, I'm, you know, like I'm a cat lady. And cats know when to leave you alone and go across the room and go sleep. Children and dogs, not so much. So, you know, I also love dogs. I'm just not a dog person. So that's also though because my mom used to raise pit bulls, and nothing turns you off on dogs quicker than waking up to a 70-pound dog who wants to sleep with you, who thinks he's like kitten sized. So, all right, I think the ground is groundy enough. Some orange, some browns. It's got some texture to it. I say that as I add more orange, but it's just a little extra because I see too much white that I don't like in the page. All right. So a little bit more between the dragon toes. All right. I am going to... well, we're going to work on the dragon a little bit more. And again, we're going to the pile of stubbies so I can try to work my way through those. I mean, it will take years to work through all of these, but we're gonna do our best. So I'm gonna just start by making the dragons. The roof of his mouth, we're gonna go pink. I'm gonna just start with the light pink, and I'll probably bring in a lot of red, but I think pink is a good place to start. And same for the tongue. We'll just add in as we need to. And then I'm going to assume dragons have pink gums. And so for the inner gummy part of it, I'm just going to do more pink. All right, and there's our basic light pink. Let's see. Yep, I'm going to go in with processed red, which is actually just a dark pink. I'm not sure why Prisma calls it processed pink, probably because dark pink would sound weird, but it's basically just like a dark purpley pink. Go in around the teeth. and sort of work out shade and dark there and work my way back and out. Probably also go in with, yeah, I'm probably gonna put some like dark red in here. I'm gonna assume he at least has a few infections in his mouth because, you know, there aren't a lot of, I can't imagine like there's a big industry for dragon dentistry. Like it just seems like it's one of those industries where you get eaten by the dragons a lot. I mean, that's probably what's happening here is He-Man was like, let me check your teeth for you, dragon. And the dragon's like, I'm just going to eat you. So, not a lot of money to be made either one. I mean, I'm sure, like, they're great insurance policies, you know, like, or maybe not. Maybe it's one of those things where it's really hard to get insured if you're a dragon dentist. Because they're like, ugh, you're going to get eaten at some point and then we're going to have to pay out. And then your wife is going to drive around with a new sky sled. And the merman will try to steal it because that's what he does, and we'll have to replace it. So, I mean, it's all these things that I wonder, like, why don't we ever see that in the cartoons? Like, nobody's ever talked about, like, Insure or, like, the attorney and insurance salesperson. Like, that would be a cool figure, right? Like, I would have bought that. I'm surprised we didn't get that in the 80s. Insure or. Somebody get Ramen Toys on the phone. I think I have an idea. Alright, just sort of darkening some of the pink. Like I said, I'm probably going to go in with some red in a few seconds. We're also reaching the part of the day where the cats start bouncing around, so if you hear weird noises in the background, it's just cats being cats. They're active like 1 or 2 hours a day when they're not asleep, and we're about to enter one of the active phases. Much better when it happens on stream than when it happens when I'm in the middle of a work phone call. So. Alright, there we go. He's got a pretty pink mouth now. I'm going to go in with the pomegranate now from one of the Prisma sets. And just put in his little infections around his teeth. Just because you're a dragon and you don't have hands doesn't mean you can't figure out how to brush and floss. There we go. All right, let's see. Hello, welcome. I am using Prismacolor today. Got a couple different sets I want to use, but I just, because I'm trying to work through all the stubbies, and those are all pretty much Prisma, just using Prismacolor today, and from a couple different sets. I mean, they're all in sort of the big Prisma set, but I tend to buy the little, there's some botanicals, some of these are from the botanical set, couple of them are from the portrait set, and so it tends to be cheaper for me and easier than going to Blick or Michael's or Joann's, or I don't have Hobby Lobby near me, so I can't go there for open stock. But it just tends to be easier to get a couple of the sets, like on Amazon, when they go on sale. So today is Prisma. I have, and I've not, I'm working on a video with for those who are interested in those things. I recently got the 72 Harmonious colored pencil set from Castle Arts, which has it's a premium collection of delicately pigmented color. It's a lot of sort of grays and pinks and purples. And so I'm working on a couple pages with it that I'll do I'll make a video from. I just haven't finished that yet. This take a little bit longer than the finish short because I actually, I do the swatching and then try it, and I do a couple different pages. If you've seen the, I think that was, gosh, that was just Monday. On Monday, I dropped a video where I tried the Starjoy Classic set of 72 pencils that I filmed like 2 months ago. It just took that long to, well, most of it 2 months ago, because I did 4 different pages in it. So it takes a little bit longer on those. So I've got I'm going to do 2 or 3 pages for the Harmonious set, and I filmed 1.5. So once I get all the pages done so that I can really test all of the colors, that will drop. At some point I'll use one of those on a live stream. I just tend with live stream, since I'm also trying to remember to talk, tend to default to Prisma because I've used those the longest and I'm most familiar with them. So it's easiest to go on autopilot a little bit. Pretty much know how they're going to, especially because, the paper, especially this book is printed on sort of my favorite cardstock. So it's a little bit easier. And I'm just going with sort of a darker pinky pink for the rest of the tongue. And he has a very human tongue, which is sort of odd because usually dragons are portrayed with like a forked tongue, but it's pretty people-y tongue. So I'm going to try to make it people-y tongue in color. All right, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, they're just my favorite. It's partly because back in the dark ages, when I was taking art classes in college, that's what my teacher was like, you have to use Prisma, they're best. So I'm most familiar with them. Hello. Yeah, things are going pretty well. Oh, nice. See? That's really cool. Lucky. That's a cool spoiler alert. Can't wait to see what you do with those. Yeah, that's cool. Can't wait. You need to start branching out into jewelry making content. Brick, make jewelry for your action figures. I'm gonna use Deco Yellow for the dragon's teeth. So we're gonna be a little shady toward Mr. Dragon here. And since I used the yellow chartreuse, which is sort of a greenish yellow, right now it's kind of blending together. But that'll change once we start layering in this stuff. And I mean, instantly we're going to go get shady with this poor dragon's teeth. So I'm going to go in with, this is yellow ochre. I'm start using that to do some shading on the teeth. And this helps it stand out. And Looking good. Well, I mean, as good as poorly kept dragon teeth can look. So, again, poor attorney and dragon dentist. They always say they never saw it coming, but when you're opening a dragon's mouth to look at their teeth, you kind of have, there's no way you can't see it coming. Alright, there we go. It's a suitably ferocious mouth. Alright, so it is now time to start working on the dragon himself. So I'm going to do sort of the spikes, lighter shades, just so that they, again, are going to stand out from the rest of the green. And where do we start? There we go. All right, start with, it is Sap Green Light. And I'm going to use that for the fin on his back. And probably for the little dragon toenails. Well, maybe not. I might go in with yellow for those. And think about that while I work on his fin. I guess that would be called a fin. I don't know, what do you call this part of the dragon? Is it a fin or is it a back scales or... I'm surprisingly uninformed about dragon anatomy. I didn't teach classes on that in college. Well, they probably do know. So, hello, Brennan. Welcome. Right. Oh yeah, we've all had that moment. That would be really cool. There's a lot of tail crest would be good. We all know that, Andrew. We all know that your legs look just like humans. We've seen the pictures of you in your rogue costume. Yeah, what's funny about this book is there's a lot of stuff in here that, you know, is directly to toys that they released or would have been getting ready to release. And they always sort of wanted to do Dragons and Masters of the Universe, and then they never happened. So going through this coloring book, as many of these sort of dragon creatures as they are, I am wondering if, you know, because these coloring books, especially in the 80s, were part of the marketing. And before the deregulations that allowed things like Masters of the Universe to have a cartoon, one of the main ways they did marketing was through the coloring books and paper dolls. And, you know, Barbie had a couple cartoons. I mean, Barbie's never actually had like a regular cartoon series. There have been movies. But a lot of the Barbie marketing was just, part of that was the coloring books. Like they would release a coloring book every time a new Barbie came out. Would sort of explain, and a lot of them were just the same story, just sort of redone for the new toy, with some of the new fashions in it. And I acquired quite a few vintage Barbie coloring books over the last year, and most of them are like Barbie gets up, she leaves the house, she becomes a model, she's very or a rock star or a cowgirl or tends to be a model, or she gets elected class president, and then at the end everybody loves Barbie and somebody brings her flowers or a gold record or whatever. Yeah, it's the same sort of basic story over and over, but it's in the middle of it, it's got all of the like the new clothes that would have been coming out for each of the new dolls. So no, just really sort of interesting. Yeah, and that Mattel at the time owned the company Whitman Western Publishing, who did all of these things. It was part of Ruth What's Her Face's big, you know, mid 70s. They just Mattel went and tried to diversify their portfolio, and they snapped up a lot of companies. So when this book was being produced, it would have been right around the time they had to basically sell it off as part of cleaning up the mess that Ruth left behind from her fraudulent schemes, I guess is the. I mean, she was prosecuted for it and convicted, so it's not like even alleged. But yeah, one of the companies that they owned during that time they ended up letting go of was the company who produced all of these coloring books. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these old coloring books have sort of like these dragons literally could have been inspired by prototypes, or they could have been like, we're going to release some dragons, make sure you throw some dragon pictures in there. It gets really sort of, and if you are a customizer, I am, but I just haven't had time to do much customizing. You know, there's a lot in these old books that, especially for He-Man and the early coloring books that, like say this one, there are a lot of things that are in it that would make cool sort of monsters or creatures. Not much characters. This book actually has, and I did it on a live stream a few weeks ago, but it has an actual vehicle that never got made. That I don't know if it's a prototype or a creation of the artist or what. I checked with Adam at the Battle Ram, and he isn't aware of it matching any prototypes. So who knows? We'll see. Yeah, see, this is good point. And then also Thanos, like it just, you know, even She-Ra at when Garrett Sanders did the PowerCon panel a few years ago, and was going over, you know, because he and his brother, when they worked at Mattel, had gone through the archive, and they'd found a bunch of stuff on She-Ra, among which were sort of the wave 2 we didn't get that would have like sort of built out Frosta and Frosta's world. But also there was a lot of sort of wave 3 stuff and unproduced concepts, and even She-Ra had concepts for like sort of mystical dragons that never got made. And then always, you know, it always seemed weird to me as a kid that there weren't sort of more monster toys in Masters of the Universe. Like, you know, like Wave 1 mini comics, Merman had that giant sea monster that like He-Man fights on the cover of it. It never made sense that like stuff like that was never made as a toy. Masters of the Universe could have used some monsters. You know, kids today have Moby as their monster, but kids in the 80s, we needed some dragon toys. I'm going to go in with grass green and just sort of start trying to build out sort of this lighter color. And I thought about originally just sort of going in and drawing actual scales, but I think that would make it too busy, so I'm just going to kind of do a swirly pattern with this green to sort of simulate the, like, suggest scales, but not actually go in and do scales. Try to get super fancy like that on one of these pages, and it did not look good, and that's a video that will never see the light of day. It wasn't precisely scales, but I just tried to do something super arty, and unfortunately and it was just basically the drawing. Not all of these are the size of this. There's not necessarily a lot of room to go in and add that detail after the fact, and so which is probably part of the reason that some of these don't have a lot of detail. But there's a lot I can suggest through texture and shading, so that's what I'm going to try to do. Just so, you know, try to bring this page up a little bit. I mean, his mouth looks way less ridiculous now than it did when we started, so. You know, I haven't actually, this is going to sound horrible of me, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it. What the bits I've seen looks pretty good. I'm going to probably after the stream, it will be the first time when I have lunch after stream. It will be my first chance to actually sit since PulseCon and just sort of look at the, you know, really look in detail. It's been pretty hectic. Yeah, we're in the process of trying to get moved, and we recently, you know, made some changes to our vehicular situation. So between just all the housing and car stuff, it's been a pretty busy week. Not a lot of as much time for, which is if you've noticed I haven't been in any chats or anything, or was briefly in chats but not really in chats. That's been why we weren't just wasn't really available for the internet for a bit this past week. And there'll be a little bit more of that in the next couple of weeks as we sort of, you know, deal with all the housing stuff. So, which I will talk about sort of more detailed as things shore up, but right now, just keeping it a little vague. If you know, you know, and if you don't, I'll chat as appropriate when it's time. So. But suffice to say, we are in the process of making a pretty big move. So hopefully there won't be a lot of impact on the channel, because I have been over the last 3 or 4 months trying to bust my butt to get a bunch of pre-record stuff ready, and so minimal content. The biggest impact will likely be live streams on Fridays, which didn't happen this Friday. It's happening today. It worked out. Eldor, Master Versatile Toy Hunter, and I were going to hang out today, but he is an Eternia, so it's not always easy to line up. So we couldn't make this week work, and I was like, well, I'll just do what I planned for Friday if Friday would have been able to happen. So, but Eldor will be hanging out with me very soon. Again, it's really difficult to coordinate between the United States and Eternia. So he and I might have to do a pre-record and just drop it on a Sunday. Because I would like to try to accommodate his schedule more than have him accommodate mine. But we will see. Everything will work out. All right. Yeah, what I've seen, mainly through like people sharing it with me or tagging me and stuff, it felt a little underwhelming, but also I think and this is sort of, I guess, in my opinion, I mean, I'm happy if, you know, like this is a strictly opinion. I think the problem is personally for San Diego Comic-Con, I felt like Hasbro's presentation was a little underwhelming. They showed us some stuff, but not a lot of stuff. And it felt like, you know, some other companies brought a lot of stuff to Comic-Con. And then PulseCon was underwhelming. They showed us some cool stuff, but they didn't like bring a lot of stuff. And I think what Hasbro is going to have to figure out is how to sort of tier it so that when they show to Comic-Con, it's not underwhelming, and how PulseCon isn't underwhelming if they're going to continue to do both. You know, PulseCon partly popped up because of sort of the lockdown and not being able to do things like Comic-Con. So I think they need to sort of take a step back and figure out how they're going to approach it, because, you know, they showed great stuff at San Diego Comic-Con, but compared to everyone else, it was very underwhelming because it wasn't as much. And now they're doing PulseCon, and they're not able to show as much, so it feels underwhelming, but it's like they're just spreading it too thin, I think, and I don't... Yeah, like, they can't make more product. And if they did, it would just be so they would have the wow factor of reveals. So I don't know. The only real answer that I can see is you just stop doing one or the other. Or you stop building PulseCon up to be like this big deal. So I'm not in marketing. I'm not a brand manager, so I don't know like the actual answer that would work best, but that's just my thoughts about it. You know, people are feeling underwhelmed by their presentation at all these things, but a lot of it is just they're doing all these things. Not all the other companies are. So I think there are a lot of toy companies, a lot of companies in general who are kind of wanting to break away from Comic-Con, but can't really just go cold turkey, and so they're trying to do their own events, and like, I don't know, it's a mess. So yeah, exactly. Like New York Comic Con's coming, and like Hasbro will show up and they'll have some cool stuff, and people will be like, "But it's underwhelming." And it's like, if you put San Diego, all the Pulse Cons, and New York Comic Con together, like they'll have had a great year of product, but it's just so spread out that it can't be properly appreciated. Yep. I have, in the course of packing, I found some of my old Toy Fair magazines and just sort of remember, like, you'd buy 2 or 3 different, you buy a Toy Fair, well, I would, and Lee's Action Figure Digest, and, gosh, there was one other one, the Tom Arts, and those were your 3 places where you got your coverage, and one of them would have a big picture of something you wanted to see, and one of them would not have anything. They would just say, "Oh, this was announced," and it'd be really piecemeal, you know. And you sort of have to buy 2 or 3 magazines to put it together. And if you were lucky, they would end up on the internet, but the internet was still pretty not put together. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's funny. And I realized that when I was working on my Power of the Force 2 Leia video, trying to find pictures of some of that stuff, and not finding it on the internet, and realizing I never watched it on the internet. It was literally in a physical magazine, and trying to track down those actual, like the Princess Leia collection. I remember, I think it was Lee's Action Figure Digest had just the best pictures of those. And not being, you know, my issue is in a box somewhere. But just not being able to find any of the old actual like Kenner Hasbro photography sort of bumming me out. Like there's this, you know, and I've noticed this now that I am doing research for Jay and the Toy Geeks podcast. There's like this weird sort of black hole of on the internet between, you know, where things from the 90s are really like you can find stuff, but it's not necessarily of it's like somebody's put it on the internet. And there's this period from like 2004 to like 2012 where stuff's just not there. Um, like, hopefully he announced this. If not, I apologize if this is a spoiler. But he's doing an episode on the Lost McFarlane toy line as part of sort of the Lost 20-year celebration. And, you know, Jay, back in the day, he and his dad, Jack, used to do a Lost podcast. Yeah, so it's sort of long-term sort of Jay stuff. But as I was trying to research the McFarlane, even McFarlane's website doesn't have the old press releases from like 2000 and it was 2006, 7, and 8, I believe, that the toys were, and then Wave 3 never came out. There was no official announcement I could find about the cancellation, like, and so it's really interesting trying, you know, there's this like dark, you know, it's a lot of around the time like where GeoCities went away. So it's like if you didn't preserve your site or the Internet Archive didn't grab your site, like your stuff is just gone. So there's this weird black hole in the internet, you know. And I sort of, as I've been researching and running into this stuff, also realizing like if YouTube went away, like what about all of my videos? Like I've got them all backed up right now, but there are some people who don't have backups of their videos, and like if YouTube nukes your channel, you're out of your stuff. So it kind of ties into a lot of the conversation around physical media that's happening right now, like when stuff gets removed from streaming, or you know, like if you buy stuff, you know, like you buy a movie through Amazon, technically if Amazon went away, like your copy that you bought of that movie goes away, because there's not really a way to download it from Amazon to actually possess it as a file. So anyway, sort of your daily deep thought if you're somebody who creates or enjoys things that are on the internet. Like hopefully your favorite creators are archiving their stuff. And so, you know, and it's like the whole archive thing. Well, it's like, do you store it on a drive? Do you burn it to disk? But then again, like disks in a few years are going to be dead technology. So I don't know. It's really sort of a grand scheme of it, trying to figure all that out. That would be super cool. Like if you should take pictures of those and put them on the internet, because I would love to see those. I've got a bunch of Sailor Moon stuff printed out one day to make shorts with, and it's just finding the time. And thank you. Yeah, that all. Well, I picked this page a few months ago, but like when I picked it out, I was like, I'm gonna use that yellow chartreuse underbase, and then the green on top of it will just, yeah. So some people get in the shower and think deep thoughts. I get in the shower these days and think about how to achieve a certain look in coloring. So we've got a Supergirl page from one of the Supergirl movie coloring books that I'm going to work on this evening, that I've been plotting for almost a year. And it's not it's not fancy, but it's just I've been sort of laying it out in my head for like, since I saw the picture like about a year ago when the book arrived. And so, and it's funny, I've just all day, like, you get up, I'm going to stream, I'm going to have lunch, I'm going to pack some stuff, I'm going to organize, and then I get to work on this Supergirl page. And so I am that dorky about the stuff that of the videos I release. Like, So far, there have not been any. I mean, there's been a page or two where after the fact, I was like, I did not have fun doing that. But I've never been calculated and just done something just because I thought it would get clicks. I do have a sort of 20 to 30 page stack of stuff I printed out that I have printed out, but I bet this would do really well. And then every time it's time to try to make it happen, I'm just like, I don't even wanna. So maybe I'll do that one of these months. I'll sort of buckle down and clear out that stack of 20 to 30 pages I printed for internet glory and just drop them, and then nobody will watch them and be like, see, my instinct was wrong. I didn't like it. I shouldn't have done it. But I also say that, and I do have one that I dropped because I needed, because I was doing the short a day. And it was like, I just have to finish this. It's miserable. It did really well. People really liked it. So sometimes in art, the thing that you did not enjoy, somehow still people can enjoy. So sort of the reminder to all the artists, even if you don't like how it looks or you weren't completely happy with it, still share it. Somebody might actually appreciate it. And even if they don't, they might have some feedback that helps you figure out how you can do it smarter or better next time. Big part of changes I did in shorts was Brick had some feedback back when I did the first few about how he wanted longer with the final image. And I couldn't figure out how to keep it from clipping. And then I figured out, I just film in real time for like 10 seconds and then I trim it so that there's a whole, I figured out how to edit the shorts basically using my phone. And so feedback is good. And if you don't like something, I say still put it somewhere so people can see it. You have good friends on your social media or good followers, they will give you some good feedback that might help you improve. Or not, it'll just prove that people are a-holes. And that's cool too. Sometimes you need that reminder that the world is full of shitty people. All right, I think I have gone as far as I can with the grass screen. Let's make sure. No, that's a green ochre. So about to use that. There we go. Use a little bit of the olive green around the eyes and the nose and sort of the grubby part of the feet. For the eye, because it's kind of really sketchy there, I'm going to, I think I'm going to go in with like a paint pen and do the eye. Just because I don't know, other than making it all black or doing most of it black, I don't know another way to save it. And I think if I just sort of blacked it out, it would look too cartoony. And I don't obviously want this. I mean, it's always going to be cartoony because of sort of the art style of it. But I want to sort of move it a little bit away from too cartoony. So I use the olive to sort of darken the around the mouth and sort of some of the folds. Again, it'll help sort of make it stand out. It adds sort of the real. It's anytime you're wondering how to make something look sort of more realistic or like make it more pleasing. With Prismacolor, with most color pencils, it's going to come down to the shading of it and just sort of adding and doing the color in a way where it adds some texture and adds some, even if it's a really like smooth texture, like I've seen people go really sort of hard with Prismacolor where it's like super waxy and super flat and it, will look like glass or water. So the secret is just shading and then working to the, everyone holds a pencil differently. So depending on how hard you color or how soft is going to sort of depend on some of your outcomes, and you just learn how to work with the way you hold the pencil and the pressure you color with. So I think the one thing I like about using color pencils is that even if you're not finger quote an artist, I think most people can achieve really good looks with the right pencil color, because a lot of it is just sort of a technique that I think a lot of people can pick up, because it's just sort of shading and blending at the end of the day. And so it might take a little bit more practice if you're not sort of an artistically inclined person, but I still think most people can achieve it. There are really good tutorials on YouTube of people who are really, I mean, there are tutorials from people that I watch when I'm trying to figure out stuff. So there's some really talented people that can do some magical stuff. And so definitely, if you know, and it also, like, depending on what you're coloring, it also is a little easier. Some of these old coloring books are not the easiest art to work with. A lot of the current adult coloring books are really designed so that with, if you're practicing, if you're figuring out shading and texture and stuff, you can get some really cool stuff. So every so often somebody's like, I'm not artistic, I can't do this. It's like, you can, you just might have to work a little bit harder, but don't let stuff like that hold you back. Also, if you're not trying to sell it, if you're just doing it to be happy, like, who cares? You just do it and enjoy yourself. We are like an hour and 23 minutes into the stream, and I'm not as far. I was like, we'll finish this really quick. There's not much to it, and I definitely probably will not get to Skeletor with his sexy butt cake. So, or maybe, I don't know. I've still got He-Man. We still got the eye. I'm still adding to the green, so probably not. But seems to be the way. Also for my solo live stream in October, this last month, it's September. For this month, I had everyone vote on the community tab for a Gem in the Holograms page. Well, I had them vote. People picked Gem in the Holograms. Did not finish it, so I'm going to work on that for the next live stream. You know, State of the Channel live stream in October. So there, I will still put up a vote because I don't have that much left on the Gem and the Holograms page. But so the next one will be finishing the gem and then starting a new page. So, and I'm going to put up things that aren't Masters of the Universe and aren't Gem and the Holograms, so that we can sort of play around with some other stuff. So if there's anything that you would like to see colored that isn't He-Man or Gem, just so that other stuff can get in, feel free to message me on Instagram with suggestions, so I can sort of pick 5 or 6 things to have everyone vote on for October. Also, last year for October, I did a bunch of Halloween shorts. In addition to the year of daily shorts, I don't think I'm going to do quite so much this year, especially with sort of the housing stuff going on. I'm going to do a couple Halloween shorts, probably. So do keep an eye out for that. And I'm going to put all the shorts from last year into a compilation video for Halloween. So if you're one of the people who don't like using the shorts screen on YouTube, don't worry. I will hook you up with a collection video. And so yeah, there will be some Halloween content. The way everything's aligning, originally I had some pretty grand plans for Halloween, but it's just too much stuff happening in the real world that would make it not impossible, but unhealthy to attempt. Oh, let's check. Hello, Payne. Let's see. Oh, this is about 10 minutes ago. Sorry I missed that. Hello, thank you. Yep, 100% appreciate my replay squad. And there are several of you, and I appreciate you. Yeah, I get a lot of, excuse me, I'm pretty well, except for having sort of my Beetlejuice short blow up like it did. My subs pretty equally come from long form and short form, which I enjoy doing both. So that makes me happy. So, but my Beetlejuice short did blow up quite unexpectedly and brought a lot of new subscribers. And I love that. And so, I don't know, if you're making YouTube stuff, I definitely recommend doing both. There are a lot of people who, I've seen a lot of videos where people are like, you should not do both, make a separate channel for your shorts. And sort of like, it will kill your channel. I don't think that's the case. Unless you're not, yeah, I have not found that. But I've noticed the channels that are saying that their shorts content is basically repackaged of their long form content. So I think the key in that situation might be that the content that they're making in shorts, because it is basically a summary of the long form content, it's not giving people any reason to watch the longer stuff, which is why I have different formats. I have something for I do stuff in shorts that are mostly shorts and work best as shorts because I can use popular music, which I like. And then try to do just different stuff for long form. So I think if you're just doing the same content, sort of, like using it as a trailer, I don't know if it's always going to work. I mean, it could, depending on your type of content, but I'm not going to name names. But the people I saw who, like, I'm not doing shorts anymore, it's killing my channel, it's sort of, at least one of them, I'm like, well, I would much rather watch you in shorts where I don't have to hear you whine for an hour and a half in a video about what you don't like this week, which is, like, kind of always the same stuff they didn't like the week before, but it just gets tedious. Whereas in the shorts, like, they cut out most of the whining. And it's like, I would rather watch you in a short where you don't whine. So, anyway. I'm sure he's a happy person in real life. Anyway. Alright, so I'm thinking our dragon is pretty close. I'm going to go in with this sap green. My blend over here is a little rough, so I'm going to use this to sort of smooth that down. There we go. And then right in here, I'm going to add a little bit of this. And so it looks more like a sort of a light, sort of the way the light is playing off of him rather than the white of the paper. All right, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. I need to figure out his eye right now. My holy grail, oh gosh. Well, it depends. If we're talking toys, I don't have a ton of Holy Grails anymore. I've gotten most of those. Sort of the closest thing I think to Holy Grail for me toy-wise would be anything from the final wave of Princess of Power, like Spinnerella, Shower Power Catra, any of those. I've gotten a Tossa, but that's the only one. From He-Man, I pretty much have all of what I need. Star Wars, there are a few things I want from. I want an Imperial troop transport at some point. So sort of those, and most of what I want, other than the She-Ra stuff, it's all pretty affordable. For coloring books, the only Holy Grail left that I don't have is a couple of the early, and they're not even technically coloring books. It's some Star Wars. Kenner did. It was called Plaints, which was like paint, and they did a poster set. So that, and then the Empire Strikes Back Give a Show projector book. I mean, projector toy. And then I am looking for Darcy Wave 3, the toy booklet. And that's kind of like my holy grails right now. And those are very minor. I've managed to pick up most of my grails pretty affordably over the last few years. So I'm and also sort of reconfiguring my collection. Sort of with moving, you kind of have to question some of your stuff. And it's just time to sort of buckle down and get serious about what I'm going to collect and what I'm not going to collect. And so that's kind of it. Like, for a long time, I was kind of like, it would be nice to have a Mego Wonder Woman, the 12-inch one from back in the day, but I kind of look at it now and it's like, the sculpting isn't great, the actual toy, it would just be to have that toy. But I don't, visually it's not appealing to me. So I'm going to the whole idea of owning stuff just because I want to own it or didn't get it as a kid, I have sort of grown out of at this stage. And it's now just sort of, is it visually appealing to me? Is it going to make me happy if I look at it on a shelf? Am I going to want to pick it up and check it out? So I did look at the Mego Wonder Woman. Like, there was a headless one that needed to be rerouted. I mean, a bodiless one that needed like new hair. The face paint needed to be redone. It was like $20 for just the head. And I almost did that because I'm like, I could put that on a body that doesn't have the Mego melt problem. Because a lot of the old Mego dolls, their bodies like melt and fuse together because of the quality of the plastic. And a lot of the old Mego dolls turn gray. So I don't know, like there's just stuff like that that I used to think, oh, it would be lovely to have that at some point. And now it's kind of not. Like, there are a couple arts and crafts items from the 80s that I would like to have. But I don't know if they're holy grail so much as it would be cool to have them. So, I don't know. It's been weird sort of having all of that shift over the last year. All right, we're going to figure this eye out now before we start He-Man. Oh, and hello, Christopher. Lovely to see you. There are a lot. And that's fine. Embrace the stuff. Yeah, like it's kind of, as kids, especially late 70s, early 80s, before superpowers and Secret Wars, those were sort of the only way you could get superheroes. So, it wasn't even necessarily that as kids we were like, oh, these are terrible. It was all we had. I was watching a video recently where somebody was sort of trashing a bunch of the 90s Toy Biz stuff. And it was just kind of like, but that's all that was happening for Marvel. It's like, if you wanted Marvel, that was your choice. Excuse me. There weren't like 30 different companies making these toys. Now you can be pretty picky. If you don't like, like what McFarlane has made, like there are other people who have that license and will make a version that maybe you do like. So, or there's been one over the last 40, 50 years somebody made that you will like, that just save up and get that instead. So we're pretty fortunate in that respect as collectors, where, you know, I think if you're a fan of sort of newer, you know, like if you're a Star Wars fan and you like, say, the Acolyte or whatever, like your figure choices are pretty much going to be whatever is coming out. But if you're OT, a fan of the original trilogy or even the prequel trilogy, eventually those, if a figure comes out you don't like, eventually they're going to redo it. Like Farm Boy Luke is going to get remade every 5 to 10 years regardless. So if you don't like it, hopefully you live long enough for the next one to come out that maybe you will like. I did see the vintage collection Luke Skywalker that's coming out, which is a vast improvement over the original, you know, 2000, I think it was 2004 when it was called like the original trilogy collection or something. You know, and the Leia they released in that scale earlier this year was also pretty good. I still need to open mine. It's just, it arrived right when I started packing stuff up. And that one, because it's Leia, I will probably do an unboxing video of, even though I don't tend to do a lot of unboxing videos. So I'm just using some grabby paint pens to do his eye. I think it's a pretty vast improvement over what the eye was doing. So there we go. Dragon Eye. And sort of with that, I'm going to actually go in now with a brown, and I'm going to sort of darken just right around the eye with the brown. Maybe some dragon eye crust, but I really want sort of it to sort of lose a little bit more of that black line. It'll help the eye be cooler. There we go. Excellent. This dragon needs more sleep, especially because it doesn't look like he has eyelids. So he's got all this bad dental health, no eyelids. It's a rough time to be a dragon in Eternia. All right, I think we're good with his eye. Yeah, that's pretty good to me. Oh my goodness, right? Yeah, that's sort of the thing too, is some of the old, even some old Kenner stuff does the toy melt. I know I've seen, luckily none of the large size Star Wars figures, but I do know that I've seen some of the Dusty dolls and some of the Darcy dolls have sort of that melted fused around the waist and where the legs connect, because it's the two different plastics reacting to each other over time. And so that's super disappointing. But also, like, you know, in the 70s when they were making these toys, nobody thought that in, you know, like even in in the 1990s, anyone was going to want to buy these things, you know. There was just no sense of the collector market. Even Barbie wasn't really, there were people who sort of were into old Barbies, but it just wasn't a factor. It was like, let's make toys kids can play with that will last 2 or 3 years, that they can play with for the whole time they're a kid. And then, you know, they'll throw them away when they're done playing with them when they grow up, because that's kind of what used to happen. So there are all these stories of parents who like threw their kids' toys away, because it just used to be the way you finished playing with it, you either gave it away or you threw it away. And sort of later boomers and Generation X, we kind of came in and like, no, we must collect and save and keep all of this trash. You know, it's all collectibles. So, oh, how the times have changed. What if? That would be great. I'm into that. Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, like, what if Star Wars was fun? I think for me, that's kind of like what's been missing from recent. And this is not a, I don't, like, I liked The Acolyte. I know people didn't. I liked it. Um, but it's pretty dark, it's pretty grim. Um, and I know sort of that's kind of like the style of things now, but what made Star Wars for me as a kid fun was it was really sort of bright. Even though Empire Strikes Back ends on sort of a dark note, by Empire it's all Ewoks and you know Leia's got her hair down and they're dancing at the end and she's emoting like she's on a telenovela. Like it's just the original three Star Wars movies were fun. They were bright and hopeful, and Star Wars has become really grim, and that's in general everything. Like, that's one of the many reasons during the New 52 I stopped reading comic books, was I was so tired of everything being grim and dark and depressing. Like, I kind of do all of my, sort of all the fantasy and superheroes and even, sort of vintage toy collecting. Like, it's sort of about, like, the hope and the cheer and things being brighter and cooler, and so everything gets dark. It's just ugh. I mean, it's like if they ever try to go dark with Strawberry Shortcake, I'm gonna be pissed. Because it doesn't get lighter, bouncier, or like more, cheerful than that. And if they ever like dark berry, you know, I'm just not. I'm no. Like I'm over it. Or like Rainbow Bright, like the day the rainbow dies. I'm out. Like some things need to just be hopeful, and I feel like that's for me what's been missing from Star Wars is there's not been a lot of hope in it because they're trying to. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like there's so many different people that are into Star Wars, and a lot of the people online who are vocal about it are sad, and well, that's okay. But it would be nice if when there's some Star Wars they don't like, if they just left it alone and let the people who like it, instead of taking it as a personal attack that there's Star Wars that they don't like being made. And so, yeah. And that's my opinion on it. If you don't like it, don't watch it and go watch something you do like. And if you feel the need to make 17 videos on the internet about how sad Star Wars has made you, I'm gonna say that it's probably not Star Wars making you sad. You're just projecting onto a galaxy far, far away. You'll find something that makes you happy. Like there are so many properties out there that you could put your time and energy and love into if you don't like one of them. And so, anyway, that's your nerd PSA for the day. Oh, wow. Making good time. We've got about 15 minutes left, and there's probably about 15 minutes of coloring left, so perfectly timed. Thank you, Dragon with Bad Teeth. All right, maybe, yeah. But I need a Okay, yeah, I'm assuming that's what you mean by the autocorrect. Well, I think here's the deal. Like, I think sort of the dark and the gritty and the realism of Watchmen worked for Watchmen, but I think a lot of people also miss that that story ends with hope. It's not all, it's dark and grim for most of it, but then at the end, like, good stuff has happened and there's some hope in the world. And I think people miss that, right? Well, it did, and but again, I think most people miss the overall arc of, like Watchmen. At the end, like you've got Silk Spectre and Night Owl sort of like running off together to be in love. You've got, sorry, spoilers for Watchmen, but again, if you haven't read a comic from like 1987, that's had many movies and a TV adaptation by this point, like I'm sorry if I ruin it for you. Also, if you've made it this far into the stream, then you're aware I'm going to ruin stuff for you, so never mind. Apology taken back. If you've made it this far, you're part of the replay crew, and you know that I ruin stuff. It's just what I do, especially according to my exes. Anyway, yeah, but it ends like at the end of that. Even though all this horrible dark stuff has happened, like the world is like working together. There, like a form of peace has been achieved that is unprecedented. Sort of the trick to it is Ozyman. I can't even say it. Adrian Veitch's evil master plan, like, is to give the world hope and unity, and it works. And to me, that's sort of the thing people always miss about Watchmen. Yeah, it's very dark, it's very grim, it's very all of the things, but at the end, it completely reverts to sort of, and they all lived happily ever after, except Rorschach. I can't even talk now. It is almost the end of the stream, so it makes sense. But yeah, everyone, like it's a happy ending, except for the dead people. Um, Again, it's sort of the where why Alan Moore did really well with that. Um, yeah, it's Alan Moore, but where he didn't, with other stuff, he himself missed the point of what Watchmen was in later work, where he got super grim. The more mad he gets at DC for making him lots of money through royalties and endless reprints. Um, like the more he loses the thread of what Watchmen actually was and what it was, what he originally. But that also, I think, is part of getting older. You sort of yourself age out and you forget who you were and what you were trying to say. So, and nobody is immune to getting old and losing touch. I recently read through some of my old journals, and part of old, young me would be horrified by old me. So that should be part of your goal. To become somebody so boring, young you is shocked. All right, let's some gray. To do his harness, I'm gonna try to. I mean, again, it's really small, so I can't really do a proper sort of silver metal effect. I'm gonna do my best with what I can. sadly, these, and again, it was free. That is the thing, though, even as sort of small as these pages are, this was made for crayons back in the day. I can get a much finer point with the Prismacolor or any color pencil than I ever could with the Crayola. So sometimes when this art is really detailed in these old books, I do find myself going like, what was supposed to happen here? I feel like it almost sets kids up to always be disappointed. Nothing ever looks quite good enough. Right now we're just going to go in and do He-Man's skin a little bit. If I ever find the time to get my my sort of comic book channel launched, and then definitely I'm gonna, I'll have you on, Alex, for your Alan Moore rant. So I don't know if I will at this point because it's a lot of work, especially with what I want to do with it. But if it ever happens, start preparing now. You'll be an on-screen guest, and you get just 30 minutes to just go off on the whole thing. And yeah, Alan Moore can be the Moby of the comic book channel. If I ever get it. And again, I don't know that I'll ever have time. I mean, I've got a couple videos half written and half edited, but it would be a lot of work to try to do a second full channel. I may reconfigure those and so that they work over here. Because Lord knows I have enough Wonder Woman and Supergirl coloring pages to sort of repurpose that content. And so, yep, I do. Yeah, I would be okay with that. I get not everyone can easily get on the internet. I know some of us have jobs. Well, not technically not me. I know some of us have jobs where like doing on-camera stuff might be a little tricky. So for certain people, I would make that allowance. Since you and I just like know each other, like, and I know that you're not secretly like a troll or whatever, I would be willing to work with you on that, just so that you could, maintain anonymity with your day job and whatnot. So yeah, we could work that out. There are a couple of people that I have talked about having on the show who, because of things can't necessarily be on camera. So, and I'm not on camera today. When it's just me, there's no point. I don't feel like the talking head adds much to it. I think it's helpful whenever I have a guest so that you can see who's talking, but not always. Like when I had Bud from my buddy's custom on, we were completely off camera for the whole thing, and it worked. So that's always an option too. I mean, obviously your hands are going to be on the screen, but as long as your hands aren't super distinctive, it doesn't have like a big tattoo that says, here's my address, probably going to be okay. So there's that option if you want to join me for a coloring stream and we've interacted and I know you, or you have a channel and you just don't do face stuff. We'll make it work. So, all right, and He-Man is pretty much done. No, actually, I say that, but I think put just a little bit more, give his face a little bit more detail. All right, I think that's about as done as it's gonna get. So yeah, I mean, there's not. I could do little nitpicky stuff, but at that point, it's just doing little nitpicky stuff that doesn't actually improve it. So I'm gonna leave as is. Originally, I had planned on maybe doing some acrylic paint to make clouds, but I actually think just the blue sky in the background is enough. I think if I added that plus the planets, it would get too busy. So I'm just going to leave it as is. This is pretty done. This is page 16. I've done about 40 pages out of this book. So there are 70. Yeah, 70. And the goal is to finish this before the end of 2024. And I'm pretty close. So yeah, there will be obviously some more shorts with these, more color and chills with these. And I'll do a few more live streams. So yeah, if you're enjoying the Motu 84, definitely some more stuff coming. If you're not, it's almost over, because it'll be done by the end of this year. So I mean, the video, like, I completed it, may not land until January, but I'll have all the pages finished before. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. It's about that time as is. So tomorrow I have a video dropping. It's Masters of the Universe, surprise. It's the poster book I've been doing from 1981 that I printed from scans that Adam at Battle Ram has on his site. The last video in that is dropping tomorrow. So definitely check that out. And it starts with the flip through of me showing all of the pages from the book. So if you haven't watched all of the videos, you'll get to see all the completed art in the video. There's also a playlist for all of those if you're wanting to watch them individually. Next Friday, I've got Color and Chill, and it is a, let me double check and see which one is next Friday. I'm gonna speak. Next Friday is Princess of Power, Frosted defends her kingdom against Catra. So that one will drop on Friday. Next Saturday, I've got the Galoob Star Wars Action Fleet toy booklet landing. Because the video that dropped on Saturday was the last of the Kenner Action toy catalogs. So there is now a complete set of those. Check the playlist out if you're wanting to see those. I do have the episode 1 Hasbro toy booklets coming up in October. And then Centurions, which was a poster that I turned into a booklet. Sky Commanders. I've got the Rose Petal Place toy booklet coming up. And then I finally obtained the last of the vintage Kenner Star Wars booklets. So that'll That's not till December though. So toy booklets covered for the next few months. Next Sunday I will be here with Dad at Arms, Colt. And we'll be coloring, shockingly, Masters of the Universe. He picked, this is going to surprise nobody who knows Colt and Dad at Arms, aka Dad at Arms. He picked a He-Man and Teela page. I picked a He-Man and Teela, well, Evelyn page where she's mad looking at them being happy on a computer. Because I kind of tend to like the early days of Motu where Evelyn was sort of macking on He-Man and jealous of Teela because she had the man. So, and all she had was Skeletor, who has no skin. So, anyway, with all of that said, I will see you all next time, and I'll probably see you all in chats throughout today because I will be online today. Yeah, they're epic. Definitely, if you're trying to resist the urge to buy some, don't watch my video when it hits on Saturday because there's some cool stuff. So, anyway, on that note, oh, hello, Dave. All is perfect. And thank you for popping in. All right, I'm going to let you go. I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Alice and Troy, Retro Toy Princess, out.